All right, man. Let's go then. We're
All
rolling.
right.
What's up? What's up, Dennis? How are you, brother?
Well, Dalton, how about yourself?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Thanks for joining me on this episode. Dude, your podcast is blowing up, man. You're doing a lot of cool things.
Yeah, pleasure having me on your show. First of all, I know you're doing a lot of great things, and it's a pleasure to be on here with you. And yeah, it's been kind of a unexpected journey, but little by little, it's starting to rise, and I've been enjoying doing it so far. So it's been good.
Yeah, man. So tell me, your podcast. Obviously, I can see it now. I want to know what love is. Uh, where like tell me the whole journey of you starting your podcast, man. What prompted this to start it, and what made you keep going?
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting. It's a lot of different moving parts that kind of brought this to life. So I guess the first part of it is just nowadays world and the climate we live in. There's just so much chaos and hate and so much just confusion and whatever you want to call it, going on in our
Right,
world.
right.
And I've always been the kind of guy who loves to laugh, joke, smile, crack open a beer, make friends versus fight or have enemies, right? And
Yeah.
so I wanted to create something where we can maybe come together and here's some more positive things, more positive insights, just the better side of life, right? And so
Uh-huh.
that's what the initial thought was to create the podcast was to create something where we can all come together and just hear something a bit more positive every day, right? So
Yeah, totally. I saw your last guest was the gentleman who after 16 years became a lawyer.
yeah, so that was
How did you
pretty
land that podcast, man? That's cool.
yeah, so that was a pretty cool episode, probably one of my favorites I recorded so far. But I
Yeah.
just reached out to him via social media. I sent him a direct message. I read the
Wow.
article because I was searching on Yahoo, and that's part of what I do for my podcast is I'll go on the online and try to search out a few just feel good stories for the day. Because there's
Yeah.
so much negativity pushing our faces. It's hard to find good stories, and so
Yeah,
you have to go
man.
search for them. And so one of his was one I found, and just talked about how he was facing some drug charges and had a judge challenge him to be a better person. And instead of putting him in jail for 20 years, he gave him another shot, and he took a hold of it. And 16 years later, he's an attorney. So I was like, wow, like, what kind of story, what better story, that shows positivity and the fact that, if things are bad, you can't change it than that. Right. And so I
Yeah,
reached
no
out to
kidding.
him and we had a really good conversation. So yeah, it was really good.
That's cool. I bet he's been doing quite a few of these over the past couple months, huh?
Oh
Because
yeah, he's been,
before yeah,
yeah,
before I saw him on your podcast, like I heard the story, I heard of it, can't remember where, but I was like, "Whoa, dude, what a cool, and what a good way to like a good inspirational story for people to be like, you know what, dude, it really doesn't matter what you're doing. Like it
right,
matters like you can change today. You can be whatever you want today. You know what I
right.
mean?
Yeah,
You
it's
can
never, it's
it
never,
can be
it's
that
never too
quick.
late. It's never too late, right?
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
there's at times where we get this false sense in our mind that it's too late to do something or we've gone too far and we can't do something. And especially when you're, facing something of that nature, right? I mean, that's something pretty
Right.
serious that he was going through. So yeah, it's pretty awesome to
Yeah,
hear.
dude. Yeah, holy cow, man. And I mean, for you though, we kind of talked about that a little bit, but I want to ask you just about that particular interview and story. Like, what was the biggest thing that you learned from that? What's the biggest thing that you learned from doing that interview?
The power of just having a single person in your corner. We live in a
Oh,
big world, and you
yeah,
can be surprised at times in how you can feel alone, right?
yeah,
A lot of times when you have people going through these kind of scenarios, they don't have the supporting cast of someone in a living family, and that's a lot of the reasons why that story is kind of created. And they go down that road. I'm not going to say every single story
right,
is
right,
you came from a broken down family or you didn't have people around, like but a lot of them do. And so for me,
yeah,
and I think the rare thing I got out of it was the fact that someone on the other side of the table who was looking to kind of make or break him was able to be compassionate enough to show him, hey, I'm going to give you another shot if you're willing to take it. And so for me, the power of just having that one person in his corner and what it did for his life was just incredible. Like it goes to show you what the power of positive reinforcement and just having one person there to believe in you can do for you, right? So
yeah, no kidding. People who believe in you.
yeah,
And because you're right. Like there are some people who and there are times in our lives when like it just feels like no one's in our corner. That may not be like the reality, right? But our perception kind of gives us this idea that no one's there. And so somebody really making like a dramatic change to like push you in the right direction, something like that, something as dramatic as like a judge just being like, hey dude, it's this or this, and I want you to have this, so I'm going to give you one more shot, right? Like a pretty dramatic force, you know what I mean?
right, right. And in his case, he
That's
was super
cool,
lucky
man.
because he'd been in and out of the courtroom a few times already.
Yeah.
But the
Okay.
judge had looked at some of his past interactions with the courts and seen that every time he had an issue, he satisfied what the court had asked him. So he's like, all right, well, he at least did what we told him to, and he didn't give us any problems. And it just looks like he has a hard time making the right decisions in bad moments, you know?
Oh, hey,
Hey,
that's
and
cool.
so let's
That's
not let's
cool.
not let's not throw another guy in prison for 20 years where we're already getting prisons overfilled for the war on drugs
Mm,
and some of those other things, like let's
yeah.
rehabilitate this man. Let's give him a shot. Let's show that someone believes in him. And I mean, look, I mean, he's serving people now, right? So it's
Yeah,
incredible.
no kidding, dude. No,
It's
it's
incredible.
very incredible. I like what that part of the story was. The judge noticed that he did, and sometimes, dude, it just take that's all it takes is like somebody just realizing, like, hey, let's look at the pattern here, and the pattern here is like he actually does what we tell him to do, and so like, why don't we just tell him to do? You know what I mean? Why don't we like
Right.
give him some real like life advice instead of, well, whatever past stuff? Because that's very true, man. Holy cow! Well,
Yeah.
dude, like I said, man, I absolutely love what you're doing, and we got connected just through like, how long has your podcast been going? How long have you been doing this?
Yeah. So I kicked off my first episode in January of this year.
Right on,
So
right
we're going
on.
on what, 7 months, 8 months at the end of the month here
Yeah,
in
dude.
August. So
Yeah.
and part of what you asked me a little earlier on how this all came about too is not only was I trying to create something positive for people to come listen and get a better side of life but just throughout my life I've always had people come confide in me whenever they had problems and issues and things of that nature. And so I figured,
Yeah.
why not do something that's going to benefit others, because I was also trying to do like a gaming kind of stream. And I've always been into games, I've always been part of my life, but it caters to a little bit of the younger age group than where I'm at.
Uh-huh.
And so it's like, you know what, let's use my wisdom and try to maybe give some people some entertainment, because I also say a lot of ridiculous things too. So uh so
Dude,
there's a lot
I've
of things
listened
that
to a
were
couple
kind
of
of
your
from it.
podcasts, man. That's funny.
So yeah, a lot of different reasons, but like I said, a lot of moving parts that kind of brought this all together. And yeah, it's been an incredible journey and enjoying it all. So
Yeah, dude, that's great. And a podcast is a great way to like kind of mix everything together, because like we're on StreamYard where you can like you can go live to Twitch and stuff. And I feel like a lot of the younger generation needs that. I feel like that's kind of why we've built like these communities around like gaming, whether it's a younger
mhm.
crowd or kind of that crowd that might not be in the mainstream. Although, dude, gaming's coming around. Like, what was that esports kid who like was a world champion at Fortnite or something like that, bro?
Yeah, so they're talking about
Unbelievable.
Ninja. I think his name was Ninja or
Yeah,
something like
dude.
that. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, unbelievable, man. So I mean, we're kind of realizing like, I like how the world is turning to this kind of idea, this more progressive idea of like, we don't really care what you do, like just
right.
as long as you're happy, right? As long as you're not like actively physically hurting people, like we really don't care what's going on. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
I mean, if you really got to do that, that's when you pick up some Grand Theft Auto on the video games. I mean, do it where it's not going to hurt people in real life and keep it there, right?
That's right. That's right, dude. Yeah, keep it. That's true. Keep it in the
Keep
video
it to the
games,
video
man.
games.
Yeah, dude, for sure, man.
So you've been
That's
doing this
that's
for
incredible.
a little. You've been doing this for a little while yourself, right? Your podcast as well.
Yeah, man. I've been doing my podcast for almost 2 years.
Awesome.
and put out just a bunch of stuff. I love, but I love just, I don't have a big platform, but I love giving people the opportunity, whatever it is, to like, kind of like what you're doing, right? I like, one of the reasons I liked what you were doing was because it's kind of the same, in the same theme of like, we're bringing positivity, we're trying to bring change, we're trying to show, this, we're trying to change the narrative, and that kind of sounded like one of my homies podcast, the Young OGs. I kind of sounded like their intro, but those guys, I mean, their podcast is great too, by the way. But just bringing like love back in, that's why I liked what the name of your podcast was, like, what is love, dude? Or like, I want to know
Right.
what love is, because like, yeah, dude, there's so much, like, why do we got to
Well,
keep doing, you know what I mean?
well,
Why
and
do we got to
it's
keep
such
going through
a
this thing?
it's such a subjective question too, right? I mean, what is love
Yeah,
is different to everybody, and so it's interesting
for
when
sure.
you start peeling back the layers and you open up these different discussions, right? Because I've done 21 episodes now. I just did
Oh,
my season one. I released my last episode on the 10th of June, and we're getting ready to do season two here before long. But that's just one of the things I loved have loved doing is just creating these episodes and trying to provide perspective and just some better perspective and opinions and
yeah.
important thoughts that go on in our minds related to what love is, because it's so subjective and we're always trying to find what that is for ourselves, right? So
Well, yeah, and what's funny is like, I mean, I don't know another language, but I know enough people who speak other languages, and I've had cool conversations with people who speak other languages. Where I'm going with this is like, English, there's only one word for that, right? Is like love, right? But if you're
right,
talking about things like Spanish or like Italian or Russian or like Chinese Mandarin, like there's so many different words for like types of love.
right.
Like
It's so
familial love is
diverse.
different. You know what I'm saying? And
It's so
in
diverse.
English we just have one.
Right. I know it's weird how we work that way. We're just so simple minded, aren't we?
Well, yeah, but you know what I'm talking about? Yeah, I don't know
Yeah.
if you know any languages,
No,
but
I absolutely do. And it's interesting because I guess it does evolve when you're talking about cultures and things of that
yeah,
nature, right? Because it means differently to each of those, and some of those really use it, like you were just pointing out, a lot more diverse than we do, especially in our minds, right? So,
yeah, yeah,
but when I created, that was exactly my thought. I mean, there's love in our hobbies, like me and you doing our podcasts. There's love in
right.
what people do for their careers. So, I mean, there's a lot of different ways we can go about, talking about what love is. But yeah, it's been interesting peeling back the layers and finding out what that is to everybody and kind of getting their insight, as they come on. So it's been really fun.
Oh, for sure, for sure. And I mean, since you've been kind of researching these stories and learning about, like, trying to bring this positive to the world, what are some of the biggest? Oh, excuse me.
No
What are
problem.
some of the biggest lessons you've learned doing your podcast? Besides, like, I know we talked about the one interview you had, but like just in general.
Right. Well, the biggest thing that I think I've learned so far, and it really caught me off guard, was the
Mhm.
fact that I didn't realize that I was going to be learning as much for myself as I ended up learning.
Oh,
So
nice, man.
I was going into this with the perspective of, hey, I'm going to teach people things, right? I want to give them
Yeah,
perspective and hear what I have to say as well as my guests. But little did I think, oh, you're going to learn things yourself as well, right? Because I've been able to have
right.
couples on my podcast who have been married for like 20 years. I've had some that have been married for only a few, and I've had people of all different walks of life come onto my podcast. And as I've heard some of their stories and mindset and things they've, really embraced as they've dealt with some of their, challenges and loves and things in their life, is just not realizing what I was going to gain from that myself, you know?
Yeah, for sure, for
And
sure.
and so shame on me, I guess, for not having that thought. But at the same time, it's been nice because I've always been one that doesn't mind taking perspective and insight from others to better myself. I don't feel like I know it all, and I got the best of everything. So for me,
Yeah.
I guess the biggest eye opener was not realizing what I was going to learn from all this that I was hearing.
Yeah. Well, isn't that amazing? Like just with education in general and studying is like you don't
Hmm.
know what you don't know because I feel the exact same way. Interviewing so many amazing business owners, I get to this point where I'm like, holy crap, dude. Like these guys are amazing. There's so many
Yeah.
amazing ideas out there. There's so many amazing people trying to do good things out there that we
Yep.
just don't like get. You know what I mean? Like whether it's like, I only read one news source, two news sources. I read Forbes and the Wall Street Journal,
Excellent
and that's because
sources.
you know what I mean. I'm a business guy.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll read the Associated Press, but I mean,
Maybe
and
pick
they're
up
a
some
good one.
cryptocurrency stuff.
Yeah, dude, I'm all about that, bro. I'm all about that, man. But for the most part, like I try to stay away from the news, and
Right.
so it's kind of like this idea that like what was it? I think I saw that Denzel Washington video that was like, if you read the news, you're misinformed, and if you, or excuse me, yeah, if you read the news, you're misinformed, and if you don't read the news, you're uninformed. And it's kind of like,
Yeah.
like
A lot of truth
like
to that
where the
statement.
yeah, it is like where the heck do where the heck do you go? And it's people like podcasts like that take their time, people that take their time, do good research, have a good head on their shoulders, and really try to bring the best out of situations and the best out of people. Because yeah, I mean, you find whatever you're looking for. You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
and I always feel like the best place to learn is from hearing from people. Like that's your
Yeah,
oh, I'm gonna say this cautiously. Cautiously, that could be your best news source.
yeah,
But
that's true. That's true.
it's just yeah, it makes a difference. So
Well, that's interesting. I totally understand what you're saying though, because the best news source is other people. I mean, certainly you have to know what's going on. You have to do some thinking. You got to take
right,
everything with a grain of salt. But
use some
at the same
intelligence.
time, yeah, absolutely. But at the same time, social media has done a really good job of like letting people like these keyboard warriors. You know
Hmm.
what I'm saying? Where
Right,
like you would never say that in real life. And if you just walked out on the street, some people are just in these weird spots where they're trying to be liked and they're trying to like find their tribe. But if we were just kinder to people, like we could win a lot more people. It's when people are stuck at home for whatever reason,
right.
and they're just on Twitter and Facebook, and they're just looking for things that make them mad because they just want to feel something, and anger is powerful, and when you get other angry people around you, instead of like going outside and meeting people and finding that love is more powerful and that there's actually more people that love, we're all in this kind of same spot that's like yeah, we just want to be friends, you know what I mean, and we just want to
Right.
like get along, and we all got the same worries and we all got the same struggles, trying to pay
Yeah.
our bills, and we're trying to love our kids and we're worried about this, you know what I'm saying?
Yep. We're all going through similar, challenges and things of that nature, right? And that was the other
Yeah.
motivator too, is with COVID, right? And us
Uh-huh.
being locked down more when we had the lockdown and all that things, right, going on. It's
Yeah,
real
yeah.
easy to get cabin fever and frustrations to boil over and things like that
Yeah,
happen. It's just human
yeah,
nature.
yeah.
And so I was hoping, well, maybe
Right.
something like this can help diffuse that and make at home a little bit more enjoyable in that
Yeah,
isolation time, right? Because there's a lot of
yeah.
data out there that's proven since COVID, online has gone up, internet's being
For
used
sure.
more, streaming's being done more, gaming.
Yeah,
So all
yeah.
those things of that nature is upticked. And so I was like, well, maybe we'll get some people to hear this and it'll help them out, right? So
Absolutely. Well, yeah, and that was my point. That was my point is like get people off the internet, and get people feeling like what they are actually missing. Like,
right,
I feel like when people get angry, especially like what we were talking about, I feel like when people get angry or people get lonely, like these are symptoms. They're not that's the best word, right? They're symptoms of
right,
something a little deeper that's
right.
going on, like a connection issue, like
Agreed.
connect with people. Because when I love, like, when I'm in a good place, I'm human, right? So we all go through our stuff. But when I'm in a good place, I realize like I don't have a lot of hate in my heart. Like I let things roll off my shoulders easier. You know, when I, what's the connection of my good place? It's when I'm like with people that I love. I'm doing things that I love. I'm in things
Right.
that I love. You know what I mean? And so all the negativity doesn't really affect me, and I don't have to go looking for things that to fill whatever what the love is filling. You know what I'm
Right.
getting
That
there. You know what I'm
void or
saying?
whatever. Right.
Yeah.
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 Well, and it's
Exactly.
just easier.
Exactly.
It's easier to enjoy life when you're in that mindset, right? When you have the ability to just be able to do that and show up and love who you're
Yeah.
around and the fact that you're there and those conversations, right? I mean, you just it's amazing how much
Yeah.
life just improves, you know. And I think one of the biggest things for me was, you know, I do this full time now, which I'm blessed and I'm lucky to say I can do my podcast full time.
Oh
And it
wow.
kind of
Right
happened
on.
by force, you know, because I'd been working for a company for 14 years. I
Uh-huh.
was a sales engineer for a company called NetApp, pretty large storage
Okay.
company.
Okay.
And I was dealing with some health issues, and they kind of got a little tired of it and pushed me out the door. So here I
Oh
am
gee.
out the door from a job 14 years later that was paying me six figures, you know? And
Wow.
so
Man.
I go from a six-figure job to zero income
Oh
outside of what I'm
gee.
doing right now with my podcast, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'm happier and it's weird and I love it, you know, like I have the stress and you know the challenge of now you got to make your own money. However,
Yeah.
there was so much stress I was dealing with in that role and that job that I didn't realize how much of it I was doing and filling and taking on
Right.
until I got pushed out of that role. And now that I'm doing this, I feel so much better. And so getting out of that job and leaving that stress behind really allowed me to take on the love of what I was doing and enjoy things around me more, you know, because when I was hanging out with my daughter, I wasn't really hanging out with her. I was still thinking about my job and what I had to do the next day.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
was
man.
thinking about these because there would be times where we would get asked to do demonstrations, and it may have been a technology that I didn't know about, and I had 24 hours to learn it and talk like an expert the next day on a call with like anywhere
Uh-huh.
from 5 to 20 people, and there's like a $5 million opportunity depending on this, and I got
Yeah, yeah,
24
dude.
hours to become an expert.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man.
And so
Whoo-wee.
when all this happened and now where I'm at, I'm like, yeah, I got to make money. Yeah, I got bills to pay, but you know what? I'm still a lot more happier than when I was in that job, and everything else just has improved. Like, and I love it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, dude, I know that all too well, bro. I've been in sales my whole career. And I've had to leave some opportunities just for, just your health, dude. Because
Yeah,
people say, listen, people say mental health, and that's a real thing, but they don't I don't think a lot of people understand how much your mental health actually affects your physical health. Like stress is
absolutely.
really like, you know what I mean? Like stress is
Absolutely.
it's mental health, right? But
Yeah.
that bleeds over into your physical health. And gosh, dude, it's just
Couldn't agree with you
everything,
more.
right?
Couldn't agree with
Dude,
you more.
yeah, man.
So once all that went
And
away
yeah,
and I'm finally doing something I love, like it's just amazing how all that started just naturally improving. So, you
yeah,
know,
dude.
hopefully, you know, what I do over here and what you do as well, because like you said, we both have a commonality of trying to provide positivity here that I can just help, you know, get people that same
Yeah.
experience and you know, embrace it as well. So
Oh, for sure, dude. And what I like about that is there's enough room for everybody. You know what
yeah,
I'm saying?
yeah.
Like when we reached out, well, when we connected and
I
we
think
were
it's more
bouncing
when I
ideas.
bugged you often about tips and but
Well, but that's
anyways.
the thing. I tried to do that at the beginning of this podcast thing, and by the way, I give whatever I can to people. But there were people who I reached out to at the beginning that were like, no, I'm good. Like I don't want to talk to you. And I was like, dude, there's so many things that there's so much and there's so enough. Like
Right.
that doesn't make any sense, but there's so much enough. Like there's enough for all of us, dude. Like
Yeah, I don't
there's
know.
enough for all of the podcasts to get whatever. And I'm like, dude, just let's just have fun, man. And
Well,
dude, if I never make it,
I don't have a lot of negativity in me, but if there's one line I can throw out sometimes that is fitting is you can't fix stupid. So I'll just leave that
yeah,
there.
dude. For real though, dude. It's like, man, you gotta strip that ego, bro. You gotta get rid of your ego, homie.
I'm telling you.
Because that's a killer, dude. That's a killer. Well, and not only that, but you know, there's people who listen to more than one podcast. Like to think that like I'm the only podcast somebody should listen to is like asinine. It's like,
Yeah, it's
nah, dude,
ridiculous.
you want to listen to everybody, bro. Don't listen to me. I do my podcast just for fun, but I almost get scared sometimes. Sometimes I see how many people are listening to this, and I'm like,
I
oh
know.
crap.
It's nerve wracking, isn't it? Because
Like,
and
God
it's weird because
dang
when
it,
I'm on the
dude.
microphone like you, it's like it goes away. I
Yeah,
don't care because I love having people listen to what I have to say because I feel like I say good stuff. But then when I
yeah,
step
yeah,
back and I see I got people from Turkey and like, oh my gosh, someone across the
yeah.
world's listening to me. Like, what the?
Yeah, it's a weird feeling, dude, but it's cool though. Yeah, I mean, we try to do our best and get everything going. But for you, so you came from like a sales role and jumped right into your podcast, and now you do your podcast full time.
Correct. So yeah, so
Wow,
I
dude.
guess my last role was sales and technical because I had to learn about all the technical
Yeah,
side of things. So I had to learn about cloud computing,
sure.
inside load
Yeah.
balancers, IQNs. I know all this sounds Chinese to you, but um,
No,
just
I understand it
terms,
enough. Yeah,
yeah, terms to the IT stuff. So I had to, confirm all the technical stuff. Then the sales on why they wanted it afterwards, right? Yes, it's going to do this. It's going to work with this, and here's how you want to use it. So for the last little
right.
bit, I had
Right.
a little mix of that, but yeah, pretty heavy sales. Like I sold Kirby vacuums, so a lot of sales in my
Right on, dude.
background for sure. So yeah.
Right on, man. I love that. Uh, so you're doing this full time, man. What's the goal for the podcast? I mean, what are you hoping to do, and like where is it going, man?
Yeah, so this is hopefully just a piece of the puzzle.
Yeah,
I'm trying to make this grow into something. I'm gonna before long start doing live events and things of that nature, right? So this is gonna
yeah,
be the initial podcast. I'm looking to also branch off another one as well and kick off another podcast, probably like one or two other ones. I've got another one called in mind called Cruz in the World. Maybe just talk about world events, things like that, give my perspective. And I was thinking about doing
yeah,
like a morning podcast one called just like Coffee and Donuts, right? Call it something
yeah,
like that.
yeah,
I just do like an AM kind of podcast kind of release with that. But,
yeah,
make it just kind of a network of podcasts, maybe help, get others develop their own and bring it under my kind of network of podcasts and just kind of grow it and help them and maybe get, taking care of a little bit for offering them some help and just kind of branch out and brand myself.
yeah,
Right. So this is just
yeah.
the seed, but yeah,
Right, right.
bigger picture.
Well,
So
yeah, dude. Podcast networks are not a bad idea. I mean, that's kind of where it's going. Like, um, people. We start out as independent, like you or I, independent podcast, but then
right.
banding together, like we have, like I'm in an unofficial podcast network.
Awesome.
Like
Nice.
very unofficial, very unofficial. We all do our own thing, but we love each other, and we shout each other out, bring each other on all the time, joke around, have fun.
Yeah.
But it's a great way, dude. I mean, that's a great thing to do. And yeah, dude, when you're doing your podcast full time, dude, you got to be able to like make, get creative and I
You
hope it
do.
works out, dude. Yeah, I mean, like coaching people, mentoring people, that's great, dude.
Yeah. I'm going to wait a little bit more until I get some more experience under my belt to really,
Sure.
have like hey, I can help you get your podcast going. I think I got to earn a little bit more of stripes under my
Yeah.
belt before I can offer that. Right. But
Sure, sure,
as
sure,
far
sure.
as different podcasts to talk about different topics and subjects and things of that nature, definitely going to go for that and hopefully build that out and get people to come listen to that as well. So
Yeah,
I'm just
man.
kind of
Yeah,
I'm
man.
trying to build it like the Millers, right? That's someone you're familiar with here in Utah. Gail
Oh
Miller,
yeah.
Larry Miller, the owner of the Utah Jazz, right? Well, past owners, no longer the owners.
Passed on to the, but hey, dude, they
They're
they
smart.
all those dealerships and arenas they got on a joke, bro.
Well,
That
and just the
property.
way they
I
have
think they
them all
just bought all
feeding.
that Daybreak stuff, didn't they?
Yeah, well, and then if you look at the ecosystem of their business, it's ingenious because each
Oh yeah.
business kind of feeds the other, right?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So they have like this
Well,
machine kind of running.
right. Well, yeah,
Yeah.
dude, I remember. So I worked in the automotive industry for a long time. Uh, and LHM, those were, I was with a group, and LHM was obviously one of our competitors. But I remember also getting a sneak peek. I interviewed to work for them. Ended up not taking the job because at the
Hmm.
time it just wasn't a good fit for me personally. But Larry Miller's a great company. Like, I have nothing bad to say about those guys. I think in that industry we're all just trying to do the same thing, and that's
Yeah.
sell the metal. You know what I mean? Sell the metal, dude. But
Solid business
LHM
plan.
does, yeah. But LHM doesn't outsource anything. They
Right.
own their. You know what's crazy? Here's what's crazy about LHM. This was actually one of the coolest things I learned about them. So they have automotive. So in the automotive industry, in a dealership, you have three parts of the dealership. You have sales, service, and then parts.
Right.
Um, and they all feed each other, right? Like the parts
Hmm.
sells to sales and sells to service and all this stuff. But on the service side, you have service technicians. LHM actually owns a trade school that recruits automotive technicians and guarantees them a job at one of their 50 plus dealerships.
Right.
So you go in, they recruit you, they train you that you're a master, or I don't think, I think it takes time to become a master, but you're certified, you're ASC certified. And then
Right.
they're like, okay, now you're going to go work here. And when they're recruiting, they're like, hey, we actually need a diesel mechanic. We're gonna do a cohort of diesel mechanic. We're gonna do an 8-week course or whatever they do, and then you immediately get a job. And then you don't have to pay for it up front because they'll train you, and then you sign a a contract with them to work
Right.
for so long. Isn't that a crazy idea?
Yeah, it's pretty
That's
ingenious
like
though. I mean,
that's
they're
unbelievable. Yeah,
they're training their own workforce and developing their own workforce to provide that value and service that they want, you know?
yeah, and
Yeah.
it's like, and if you're there, I mean, you got to sign a 1 year, 2 year thing, but you got a free education, and once
Yeah.
your contract's up, you can stay with them. If you stay with them past a certain point, they actually pay for your kids' college. LHM does that, and dude, I mean,
That's
and
pretty
I
cool.
mean, bro, it's unbelievable. Yeah, you brought up LHM, dude. Their business plan is unbelievable. It's
Yeah.
ingenious.
So
Yeah,
when
you're
I
right. It's ingenious.
so when I think about my podcast, I'm thinking about maybe creating it in a similar fashion like they did because their
Yeah.
dealerships fed into their entertainment, their theaters. The theaters fed into the Utah Jazz, and they all fed
Hmm.
back into each other, and they just had like this ecosystem, right? And they
Yeah,
would
yeah,
just go
yeah.
around and have all the businesses healthy, and they all just fed each other. So I'm like, you know what? Why not create a podcast network or something of that nature? Similar. So that's the
Yeah,
goal.
like everybody. Yeah, everybody kind of feeds off of each other.
Hmm.
And
I'm marketing my
dude,
I want to know what love is, and they're going to look at my other one, and then they're hearing that one and going to my other one, right? And then before I know it, I maybe got them going to the few different ones, and maybe others that create their own that want to work under my umbrella. Who knows? But yeah, that's
yeah,
exciting.
dude. No, it's a great idea, bro. I mean, it's
Yeah, a lot
stellar.
of
It's
work.
killer. There's a lot of, yeah, a lot of work, but there's a lot of room, man. And like I said, dude. And here's the thing. So with my podcast, this is what I want. This is the ultimate goal that I wanted people to understand. Well, one of them. The one thing I wanted to do was like create your business. A lot of people quit their business because they don't think it's like the next Amazon, or they're not going to be the next Jeff Bezos. And I'm like, most of us actually don't want that lifestyle. Like, do you understand? Like, think about Jeff Bezos right now.
Right.
Twitter, when he went to space, Twitter blew up, and the main theme of Twitter blowing up was they didn't want Jeff Bezos to come back.
Yeah.
Do you want that? Do I want 50, do I want 50 million people
Saying I
all
want you off
saying
this
that they don't
planet.
want me to come back to Earth? And okay, and that's an extreme example, right? I don't want to get into
Uh,
all this Jeff Bezos Amazon crap. But like, some of us don't want that lifestyle, and some of that
sure.
negativity and that hate is inevitable. Like,
Right.
people aren't
It
going to
is.
like you.
It is.
You
I
know
get.
what
I
I
mean,
mean?
and I mean, I'm nowhere near to that level. But it's funny, like when I
Sure.
hear people, my friends, talk to me and ask them how their day was, and they talk to me about how their roofing job was just so bad because it was hot out, and then they ask me what I did, and they comment like, "Oh, it must be nice not to have a job." And I
Must
just
be
sit there and
nice.
think, and I'm like, "Who said I don't
No,
have a
I do have a
job?
job. No, I
Yeah,
do
this
have
is
a
full
job.
time, man." Like, so I do get a little shade from it. It's funny. So,
Yeah. Well,
but
yeah, no, dude, but it's funny because it's like, you just can't be afraid to, like, so my whole point with that was like, yeah, you just can't be afraid to like start.
yeah,
And some of us like are cool. Like, dude, like some of us are cool with with whatever a month. Like if you can be happy, if you can be happy and have fun and do the things you want to do, and you only need to make 3 grand a month, or 5 grand a month or whatever, like that's all. Like, what do you need? You know what I mean? Like, do
Right.
it.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
do it. Oh, they're like, hey man, I wouldn't, I don't want to start this, or like, my one of my favorites is people when they're like, hey, I want to run an idea past you. I need you to sign an NDA because I don't want anybody to take it. And I'm like, yeah, I'm like,
Okay.
bro, you probably haven't done your research because it's probably already out there.
Yeah. Right.
Like,
It's true.
there's not
Very
there's
true.
not too many, there's not too many original ideas. Although I've seen a lot of really cool original ideas. But it's like
Yeah.
at the same time, it's like, you know, but just be happy. Like just start your gig and be happy and just roll. And like if it makes you happy, be happy. But like
Yeah.
I do tell people, like, if you're starting a business thinking that, with the one goal in mind to make $1 million, I don't know how far it's gonna get, homie. Because that
Yeah.
if
Well, you just
you
got
know,
to do it. You just there's a point where you
yeah,
just got to do
exactly,
it.
yeah,
And I guess that's one of the things I'll pat myself on the back. Like when I thought about my YouTube gaming, like I just went in and did it. Like I had an intro, a song created. I had my logo created. I
yeah,
got
man,
myself a
yeah,
capture card. Like, I mean, I went all in,
yeah, for
And then
sure.
when I did this podcast, same thing. I went all in and did the same thing. So,
Yeah, dude. Yeah, absolutely. Well, you got to, man. You got to. I did the same thing. Got a got all the equipment, kept upgrading equipment, and now, dude, we're rolling. But hey, it's good because what's cool is if you, just a side benefit, because sometimes I work remote, um, because for me, by the way, like I love my 9 to 5, like
sure.
I
That's
love
awesome.
what I do. Hey,
That's
but
awesome.
but that's the thing. That's the thing is, like, I hate when people get on there and like, do you like, here's what you need to do to quit your 9 to 5, and I'm like, I don't want to quit my 9 to 5.
Not
Like, I
everybody
got
wants to.
friends, dude. Yeah, I got
Yeah, no,
friends,
not
and I have fun, and we get to do cool stuff, dude. I mean, but some people do. Some people do.
right,
But
right.
anyway, it's just
Well,
funny because
and I got a
go
buddy
ahead.
I've worked with for a lot of years. I've always tried to get him to pull the trigger on doing a business because I kind of feel bad for him, but I don't. He's one of those guys who's had some a bit of unluck, right? He hasn't been lucky, but he's
Yeah,
also kind of created his own reality at the same time because he's got these incredible skills and credentials. He's
yeah,
traveled internationally. He's worked international business. He's got bachelor's degrees, and he should be high up in the corporate world, working in like a VP or international business role or something of that nature. But he still
yeah,
finds himself working as like a business development rep, making like $100 a day kind of work, which is low level work in that kind of world when we're talking like
yeah, yeah, yeah,
account
yeah.
management and things of that nature, right? And so
Sure, sure, sure.
I always told him, I'm like, man, you should just like get a business going because he's so creative. Like he can make electric guitars from wood. Like he cuts the wood,
Whoa,
he puts them all together and he makes custom like electric guitars. And they look
no
super nice.
way.
And I'm like, dude, I'm like, you could get yourself a little bit of
Wow.
money, market that, sell it, and take off with that. And
Yeah, and
like you
soon you're
said,
and soon you're making
well,
tons
he
of
just
money.
doesn't pull the trigger. He always, I
Yeah.
don't know. But then he complains about his job and how he's so stressed. And I'm like, well, dude, like, I think you should just do it. So to your point, I think
Yeah.
that, there's an element where you got to do it. So
Yeah, you just start. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I've written that. I've written about that where it's like, dude, and I've talked about it where it's like, bro, just you gotta jump. Like because you get into this analysis paralysis, you get into all this, you see
right,
how saturated the market is, or like, custom electric guitars. Like, I don't know a lot about electric guitars, but I know enough about the business space to be like, that could probably be a really competitive marketplace, and you really got to double down on your brand. You know what I mean? But like, that's
sure,
not to say that you shouldn't do it. I
sure,
was illustrating a point that like you can get into your head like that when what
yep,
you should do is what you're saying. Just go
yep,
like that. None
yep.
of that matters. Like none of that matters. Just go.
Yep. Because I mean, my point in case, 14 years later, I'm out
Yeah.
of a job that I thought I was going to have for a while.
Yeah, dude.
And, and
Yeah, man.
me, there's a little negative bone in my body when it comes to corporate America. Like I can't stand it. I just
Oh
hate
yeah.
that they
Yeah, dude.
handcuff us so bad. Like it's hard to go take vacations and join families and see things you want because you got to make sure you have enough PTO saved up or vacation time, and you can't afford to lose that
Yeah,
job because you got to pay your rent and mortgage payments, right? And not only
yeah,
that,
yeah.
but you have to go into a room and convince someone why you're worth more, like $1, $2 more an hour than what you've been getting paid. And then when they tell you no, it's a bit insulting. Like,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
why am I not worth that extra $1 or $2 an hour, but you think this other person is, right? And
Or like,
so,
yeah, or like $2 an hour. Like, what's $2 an hour, bro?
and why you don't think I'm not worth that? I've been here for like 5 years, and so it could be a bit of
Yeah,
a very demeaning process. And I guess I don't agree with the whole structure and how it all works. And so, anytime someone has the
yeah. You
ability to do
shouldn't.
something on their own, I'm like, do it.
Yeah, yeah. You should do it. Well, there's so much like I say this all the time too, like skills, man, because I think what the biggest thing that COVID taught all of us is that no one's safe.
Yeah. Right.
Like you're saying, before you were at the company 14 years, I met people who were at a company 25 years, bro, in senior positions, you know.
Yep.
And I'm not saying this to like whatever, be anything other than just to make a point that was like no one was safe. Like this dude, they came in one day, we can't afford you anymore. See
So
ya.
yeah. Yeah.
And you're like,
Yeah.
what?
Yep.
You're like, what?
Seriously.
I don't know, dude. I don't know, man. So like skills though. Yeah, like skills, man, because you're not. Everybody thinks they're going to be in the job forever, and one of the biggest blessings of my life was learning that like was quitting my first job.
Right.
Like I quit this job. It was crazy, bro. I quit this job like 3 weeks before my second child was born. But I
Wow.
remember sitting in that room, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. I can't work for this guy. Like it was
Yeah.
it was a certain situation, and I was like, dude, that was the line. That was it. And
Yep.
they were, sitting there trying to convince me, you got a baby, you need health insurance. And I was like, bro, I'll go bankrupt before I work for that dude. And I
Yeah. Yeah.
remember like, as I said that, it was kind of an out of body experience. I was like, I said that and I was like, dude, what am I saying right now? How am I going to pay for this kid, dude? But I was like, I
Right.
can't do it. And then I jumped and everything was fine.
Yeah.
You know, everything,
No, I
everything
just
worked out.
don't be afraid to like take your own creativity and run with it. I mean, I know you
Yeah.
said you love your job and all that, but I really hope that the thinking project gets to a point where you can leave your job because I
Me
really
too.
think, yeah, right. Well, brand
Yeah.
yourself. Like you're a product. Like believe in yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
if you have
Yeah,
an
for sure,
idea
dude.
and you want to do something like, Intel branded themselves, Apple branded themselves, right? And look at what they are. And a lot of these
Yeah.
companies started out of their garage.
Right, dude. Right. And
You
and not
know,
and not a joke and not jokes either, man. Those guys are good. And
you
isn't it
know.
crazy? Isn't it crazy that you buy like I heard this one time that it was like, you would never think about buying a phone from a computer company. Like would you ever
Right.
go buy like a Dell phone?
No,
And you're like, no way, dude. But you'd buy an
no,
Apple phone. But
yeah,
we all got Apple phones, bro. And they started out as a computer company. You know what I'm saying? It's
yeah,
and it's like, wow, dude, I heard that. And then I saw this other thing, Apple. They were like AirPod sales. What was it? Like, look, AirPods.
yep.
AirPod sales.
You there, Dalton? I lost you, man.
Hey, can you hear
All
me?
right, there you are.
Okay. Weird, dude. Don't really know what
I was,
happened.
I was gonna go call you Elvis there for a second. Dalton has left the building.
Yeah,
Yeah, no
man.
problems.
I'll make sure all that gets cut out when this gets released. But anyway, yeah, dude. AirPods. I was doing that AirPod thing. Um, okay, can you hear me?
Yes. Oh, wow.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Just can't see you now.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know what's going on, man. I might just do this. I don't know what's going on with all my tech, dude. This is weird. I've never had this
Yeah,
happen before.
that's weird. You just keep dropping in and
Weird.
out for some reason. Technology, you
Ooh,
love it and hate it, right?
I know, dude. Anyway, I was reading about Apple, and they were selling AirPods, and like their AirPod revenue compared to like all of like the big tech companies, and
Uh-huh.
like AirPod revenue was like more than Adobe.
Yeah, yeah. They
Yeah,
have a cult following, man. I mean,
they do. It's weird. I
one of the
mean,
best things
dude, I
about one of the best things about Apple is their ecosystem of products work really well with each other, and they
yeah.
use very very proprietary hardware inside of their
Oh, dude.
phones, and so it's
Yeah.
easier to maintain and optimize for performance versus like Android because it's like an open platform, right? There's so many components
Right,
and
dude.
things, so it's just not as optimized as like Apple. But with it,
Right.
they have a cult following. I mean, usually, and I'm not going to judge you here by all means, Dalton, but usually if you have an Apple iPhone, usually you have a macchiato or a cappuccino and a turtleneck. You own one of those, a machine
Right,
or
dude.
a turtleneck.
I don't have any of that, but but I like the
Wow.
app. I like Apple's ecosystem.
Yeah.
You know,
Because if you have
you
their
can copy.
iPad, you have it all, you can just move it all around
Yeah,
easily.
dude. Like I can copy something from my computer, from my
Yeah.
MacBook. Like I can copy something off of the web, like copy, and then I
Yep.
can paste it onto my phone. And I'm like,
Yeah.
bro, that's
That's pretty
great.
cool. Yeah, Android tries
That's
with the
great.
Google, like trying to import it through the browser and stuff, but it's still not the same. So
Oh, dude, it's weird, isn't it?
yeah,
Weird. It's weird,
yeah.
bro.
But I guess
Holy
going
cow.
to the point of what we're talking about, one of
Yeah.
the best things I liked, and it's from a movie, and I don't pull a lot of Hollywood stuff out in real world scenarios, trust me. But
Okay.
so I've always been a big Batman fan, right? And the reason why is
Yeah.
because he's the closest to a regular person, right? He works hard and he uses his money to do better, right? And
Yeah.
so the Batman Begins, the one where Ian Neeson's talking to him as Ra's al Ghul, when he says, he's
Oh yeah.
talking to him about how a man can be killed, but a symbol is forever. How much
Yeah.
how much truth is that with a company
That's
or a
so true,
business
dude.
or what you're trying to do as far as a brand, right? And so
Oh yeah, man.
that sticks with me so much when I hear that. So anytime I'm doing stuff in my podcast, I think about like a brand or a way to make it stick. And it's funny, my mom was talking to me the other day because I talked to her a lot about my podcasting stuff. And I have a
Uh,
Patreon, my Patreon account where paid members can come and get some more behind the scenes content. And one of the
yeah.
tiers has myself, you'll see my logo in the background there, my picture of my animated self, and I put a crown
Uh,
on his head. And my mom's like, looks like you're advertising Burger King. So I told her, I was like, you know what? I was like, if they put me to Burger King and as long as they remember what it is, I was like, I don't care, And
yeah.
so, ever since I heard that out of that movie, it's just always stuck with me. So I try to think about that a lot when I'm
Yeah,
doing
dude.
business or branding or things of that nature. So
That's way cool, bro. But it's true, man, and it's way cool, dude. It's way cool. Well,
yeah,
hey, brother, I appreciate you coming on, man. I look forward to seeing all of the things you're doing.
yeah,
I look
likewise
forward
with
to
you.
seeing. Yeah, man. I We'll stay in touch, and I'll keep tuning in, brother. And but I see people can see it here. But for those who are listening, how can they find you? Where can they go listen to your stuff, man?
Yeah, so the easiest way they can go is Anchor. I'm on 10 different
Okay.
platforms plus iHeart as well. So they can go there, grab whatever
Okay.
platform they're listening on. They can reach out to me on all the different social media there. You can see that in the top right corner. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter,
Yes.
TikTok,
Sir.
right?
Yes. Sir.
I want to know what love
Yeah.
is today for Facebook and Instagram. Cruise Control 82 for TikTok and as well as Snapchat. And then Twitter's a little different. It's I want to know WA for. They won't let me put the full name in there for whatever reason. But so yeah, you can see all the platforms there, top left. I got my Patreon as well. So if you want to get some behind the scenes info as well too. And then my website coming here soon, which is iwanttoknowwhatloveis.net. So
Okay. Right on, brother. Well, hey, thank you so much, man. I appreciate you coming on.
yeah, appreciate you having me on, Dalton. Take care, and wish you the best as well.
Yes, sir.